Hey everyone, little unscheduled video out of my usual cycle, so you know that's not one of my normal things. This is just kind of a side update on a situation. And it's a Kara update, haven't had one in a while. She's still doing well. As well as you can be when you've been shackled to a bed for a year. Remember, we haven't outlawed torture in this country, we just call it by different names now. But there's nothing that any of you can do about that. What you can do, however, is participate in the next phase of the process. As many of you remember, her apartment was trashed after the initial raid during her arrest, and I coordinated a team of locals because, again, I'm not really near New York a lot of the time. I got to see her recently, though, for her birthday. I went out there and visited. I'll have a whole other video about prison visitation and how it's the most Kafkaesque nightmare, where you plan it for weeks and weeks and the attorneys are involved and everyone's involved, and then you show up and everyone's like, who the fuck are you? We don't have any list of you on this. Did you tell anyone you were coming? And you're like, yes, I've been doing this for weeks. Anyway, that's not what this is about. What's about is the fact that the items we recovered from her apartment, her whole life, basically, like a crew of very dedicated people, were amazing, and they all showed up, and I kind of hired some people and friended some people, and other people got loads of stuff out of there. Everything that she owned has been in storage, meaningfully owned. Not everything could be recovered, but a lot of good stuff was recovered and put in storage. And since it's going to be a while before Kara is in any place to use any of this ever again, we're doing the math, right? And it starts to make sense to not keep everything in storage forever. New York's a very expensive area. Having a storage unit that her ex-wife had acquired, doing the math, some things don't make sense. So this is a call going out to all of my hackers and people and volunteer groups, mutual aid friends, everyone in the greater New York area. Here is what we're looking at. And I'm so sorry that some of you saw some, not panicked posts on social media, but urgent posts. I was like, hey, is anyone in Manhattan who can look at a storage unit with me? Because I was in town for a day, visiting, and I didn't know what I was going to be facing, and it's a lot. And I was like, oh God, can I get some of this elsewhere? So here's what we did. I and a very good friend of hers named Hannah pulled everything out of the storage unit in the hall, and it was backbreaking. Some of it did not need to continue to exist. Some things that the crew we had helping were so dedicated, they were packing up stuff that does not need to stick around and has no real value. So that, there's a junk hauler type person who works with the storage unit. And I was like, hi, here's a whole cartload of stuff. If you want to pick through it, some of it might be salvageable, but some of it's just gone. Of the good stuff that remains, we've got meaningfully 4 categories, and I would like help redistributing them. One that Hannah mostly has handled, I think, is food. Kara had tons of, essentially, she didn't plan on living in New York forever. She had this, it's a very trans femme thing to do, is to build an RV bus, like a school bus project. I know 3 other trans girls who have school buses, and last part of this video is coming at you. But Kara had stores of emergency food, both for mutual aid and community support, and just in general, when you're on the road RVing, so she had a lot of preserved and freeze-dried food. Hannah is handling most of that to various food banks and other mutual aid groups in the city. But if you do some kind of food work, if you want disaster supplies, canned and dried food, you can ask, and we'll tell you if there's still more at the storage unit. There's also a lot of Kara's, that's point 1. Point 2 is a lot of Kara's tools. Again, she was building this bus project and loads of other hacker projects from the ground up. So, we're talking wiring, cabling, power tools, power saws, soldering equipment, electronics equipment. So much of it is just in bins and bins and boxes. And this is where I'd love to get somebody from a greater New York area, hackerspace, makerspace, any kind of community tool lab. If you can use, there's a freaking welder. There's a freaking little stinger. I think it's a stick welder or something down here. There's a lot of tool stuff. Now, what we don't need is someone who will show up and say, yeah, I'll look through it. What we need is someone who will say, yes, I have a vehicle. I will show up at a designated time to meet a local. I will take these bins of tools and I will distribute them to useful places and spaces that can use them. And if there's some other materials that aren't needed, like I'll rehome them or get rid of them. That's what we need in this instance. Likewise, point 3, clothing. Kara has, I mean, she's lost a ton of weight because she can't move. She's just a little skinny pole now when I saw her. And loads of her clothing. I mean, she was always pretty slender, but all of her clothing, makeup, etc. She had planned on donating a ton already. She had actually a lot of it in bags and prepped to go to a lot of shelters, women's shelters, trans shelters. She had loads of makeup supplies. Again, she was displacing and decamping from her apartment into this bus before everything happened. So loads of that. We would love to know if someone can come look at these. There's got to be 4 or 5 bins and a couple bags of just clothes, just women's clothes. And the thing is, there's like 1 or 2 really nice things that Kara wants to keep. So part of what we need is someone who's like, yeah, I will make sure to pick one of these couple of things that you list out of the pile and not donate those. It's a big ask, but if you can make use of women's clothes, beautiful makeups and accessories, again, I could reach out to Glisten, I could reach out to a number of networks that do a lot of trans support in New York, and I'm planning on it, but putting out the word here as well. So if that's something that you could make use of, and again, you have the means of getting a vehicle to Midtown Manhattan and meeting somebody at a storage unit and saying, yeah, I'll go through this stuff and I'll take it, please let me know. And the last thing, again, these have all been giveaways at this point, essentially. There are a handful of items that are they're valuable. They're going to be part of this bus project. And if you are doing a bus RV conversion project, loads of my viewers are gender non-conforming and like queer and stuff. So like, I know it's right up your alley. Loads of you who have these dreams of an RV bus. Kara had a lot of material, like insulation material, rolls of rubber for the floor. Again, I'll throw some photos in here of what I took. This is like brand new in original shipping rolls and packaging, right? This is something where if you want to contribute $100 here or there, let me know. We can work something out. We'd like to maybe reclaim a little bit of value on those, and it'll just be put towards Kara anyway. There's 2 refrigerators. There's 2 freezer refrigerators. They're small, right? But they were made for people who go RVing. There's a small air handler filtration unit. There's who knows what else you might finally uncover as we get the last bins pulled out of the storage unit. But if you're working on a bus project and you live in the greater New York City area and you would like to meet somebody in Midtown Manhattan and take some very, very nice supplies that could be part of your project, reach out and let me know. So I always splash my social media up in like the corner of the screen, and I mean, it'll be there, of course, but look down in the doobly-doo, right? If you need to reach out, you can shoot me a DM on like Mastodon, or I guess I still check Twitter. Email's best. You know, deviant@deviating.net it's not like a secret. It's on the homepage of my website. You can just find my email right there if you want. But any way you can, please try to reach out. I'll try to read the comments, but the comments aren't the greatest place for me to like catch every one of you who might have something to say about this. But yeah, these are all goods that Kara, and I've talked to her about it, she would rather these things be going somewhere where they will do some good in the world instead of just collecting dust and costing us money in a storage unit in Manhattan. So she's still got a long path ahead. Where do I see this going? I see us not being able to hug and hold Kara and walk hand in hand with her and get an ice cream cone for at least another year, maybe more. I mean, that's just the nature of the court process and how everything is going. And you can ask me more questions about that later if you want. But for now, she's got a tremendous heart, and she doesn't want to see things that could go to help others just sitting there in boxes. So if you can be a part of that, if you can claim some of these things, if you can work with me, please reach out. And I look forward to letting you know how you can help. I appreciate you. Hug and kiss your loved ones. Give them good guidance when they're kids. Give them backup and support when they're older, making decisions that could impact their life. But ultimately, watch each other's backs and stay safe out there.